Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Victor Mahecha. I'm a creative technologist from Colombia who is living in Germany. And today I'm going to present a project I was working on my master's degree that is called Hydra sCC. I made during a master in Bauhaus University in Weimar. I will share my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen now. Great. So this project is a modular tangible user interface for live coding performers who work with Hydra. The idea of this project came from interest. From the last size of my master degree, I was very focused on exploring how we can represent data with the physical elements, with tangible elements, and also was very in the line of the colonial computing, trying to focus on make technology more transparent to the people, work on projects that are not intended to find generalization, but focus more on contextualize specific communities, and also open to catch the sensibility of how the people or specific groups approach and appropriate technology in some ways. And on the other side, from the art side, I've been working for some years in Beijing and creating like generative visuals. And I wanted to merge something in between that could kind of merge this both interest. And that's why I ended up like approaching to the universe of live coding visuals. Some of the work that also inspired me for creating this project was tree research, because it's kind of very academic based, this work. And one is like a project that is called Coda, that is a project that is based on create a framework for introducing the movements of dancers into the improvisation of live coding music. Another project that is also part of inspiration for this for this project is Visor, that is also a live coded environment focusing on visuals, and they create something that is very interesting, that instead of typing like the numeric values of the properties of the code, they create like an extra interface where the performer can control with sliders specific numeric values of the code she's writing. They are writing live. And finally, a project that is called Nuage, that recovers like a very huge bibliography of what are kind of like design parameters and decisions that it will be important to consider to introduce tangible user interfaces into audiovisual performances. So there was kind of like my base for in terms of academic base for creating my project. And I focus on Hydra because it's a web-based platform for creating visuals. The language is very friendly with people who doesn't have a specific background in coding. Also, they have a very active community, and one of the functionalities of the platform is like extensions that the community can create and can expand the functionalities of the platform to any scope of users. And I was very interested in create a contribution to this platform. And for sure, web-based was kind of like the perfect kind of connection to make this project like more open and collaborative. For sure, because it was kind of an academic research, I needed to state like some research questions at the end of the project I needed to solve. One of these was how tangible user interfaces affect the immediacy and the fluidity of the live coders, and also how the introducing tangible user interfaces could affect the expressiveness and the body gestures that the performance could do working with the code, creating with the code. So that's why I kind of state, like I want to create a tangible user interface that let the performance to fine tune the variables of the code in real time to boost specificness, improvisation, and performance flow. I came out with this kind of a structure of feedback flow in which we have like not just like the performer kind of like reacting to the music, but also there is a component that is the movement that is also part of this feedback flow of performance. So not just typing, but also the movement of the hands or any kind of limb or part of the body will respond how the music is changing and also how the visuals are changing in real time. This is kind of like the structure of kind of like the architecture of the system. Because it's modular, I create kind of like individual components. In this case, I kind of like for this iteration, I tried to explore and iterate, and it was more kind of experimental approach to different like a spectrum of gestures. So each one of the modules could be connected via wireless, because I also consider that maybe some cables could kind of disrupt like the reach of some movements. And these sensors will produce some raw data from the manipulation, from the physical properties they are collecting from the environment, and send that to a master microcontroller that it will be just connected via USB to the computer, and it will kind of gather all this information and send this information to a script that is kind of injected into Hydra, the Hydra environment. And with a specific syntaxes of code, the performer will have the chance to take this information and integrate it into the current live visuals. There is a component, because it's an hybrid system, there is a component that is the software to integrate the extension. The performer just need to add this line of code on top of the Hydra script they are working on. And once you execute the code, you will have an interface when you will have the chance to connect the master microcontroller, have like a mapping of all the information of the sensors you want to use for your performance, and a small kind of like a step-by-step how to use it guide that will explain how to create a variable, how to integrate this variable into the code, and also how to map this variable, because the information from the sensors not always match with kind of the properties of some specific functions you want to manipulate. So it's very important to have like a mapping function in that case. And for sure, the hardware that is the tangible part, that one of the characteristics I consider like very important, it was kind of like to keep like as much as transparency as possible, because in live coding, you kind of like have the chance to see the code, and why not you have the same experience with the hardware, with the electronics that is embedded inside. So everything is kind of embedded in an acrylic case. It was kind of designed in a very modular way to have like a specific dedicated ports if you want to connect like analog or I2 square sensors or digital sensors. Everything in a very modular way. I try to compress as much as possible the structure. I iterate a lot, but also I was kind of constrained about the resources I have like on my reach. And I also try to simplify it, like not maybe not all of the people have access to a laser cutter, but I try to make like a very simple kind of prototype that will be kind of open to be customized. And I try to kind of start my iteration with 3 categories of sensors. One's like that collect information from tactile movement, like distance sensors and accelerometer with gyroscope. Also a group that are more like mechanical manipulation, like driven, like ones that you can like press, you can flex, or maybe you can connect with other elements and expand the reach, the scope of the sensor, of the sensitivity of the sensor. I use like any element of the space as a sensor. And finally, like a small group that is called spatial exploration, and in this case, it's by a photoresistor. And the idea was kind of to evoke like the idea of screen the space, explore the space to collect data and manipulate, kind of change the properties of the code. Because it was kind of academic base, I make like a testing with a community of Hydra coders who are like living in Germany, across Germany. Uh, I worked with a group of 5 people. It was not like in a live performance context. It was more like a controlled environment. So that also was kind of like the limitations of my study, because everything was kind of like controlled and not like open to unexpected kind of like results that could happen during a performance. And I have this group of volunteers that will range between 6 months of experience with Hydra until 5 years of experience, like doing performances. It was kind of wide broad. And start information. One of the very interesting parts, like kind of the findings of this exploration, was how participants have like an interesting engagement with the material properties of the code, just by the fact they can use their body to connect with the visuals they were kind of manipulating. And some of the affordances of the structure of the modules were kind of like instructions for them to easily understand how to manipulate the element. For example, a pump, they understand easily they need to press the structure to control the properties of the code. Uh, Also, they identify like there are like some sensors that provide like long range movement, short and fine motor like movement, and they were always like looking for a sweet spot where the movements could match with the kind of the output they were expecting with the visuals. And for sure, the it was kind of challenging to be part of this new kind of like flow, because they needed now to integrate movement into the mental map of how to control visuals. So for them was kind of, okay, we need more iteration to get used to how those elements we could integrate them into our performance. Um, but for sure they manifest that it was very interesting to use like also the body as a medium to match like the sound, like to how producing visuals were also like a medium to match the sound. For sure, we have also like kind of some kind of experimentation that pushed the system to the limit. And that was also interesting because they manifest like when we have like this very short and diverse kind of set of interactions. It's kind of like a game set, and they it's like a very like a playground. They have like the chance to interact and play and test like how to push the system to the limit. And for sure they also manifest like when you integrate these kind of elements with very weird shapes and very kind of like a kind of like visible, engaging kind of the structures, it will be kind of very, very highlighting. We highlights a lot to the audience who will also part of the performance in. Part of kind of like the kind of to kind of narrow more like kind of like the discussion that ended up like with this kind of project in terms of like the questions I stated from the beginning. The participants, like the artists who were part of this experiment, of this project, they were more like comfortable with the sensors. They have like the opportunity to map one-to-one. When they have like multiple outputs, like the accelerometer gyroscope, they feel like very confused. Uh, but they really love the idea of having the immediacy of the sensor to control the numeric properties of the functions they were typing. For sure, like latency is one of the problems that will kind of disrupt immediacy, but it's something that maybe it could be also part of the performance itself, or also it could be improving technical terms. And in terms of the fluidity, they internalize that they need more repetition to kind of like integrate those kind of modules into the mental map of the feedback flow of, as like performance. They recognize like the gestures kind of like give a very fast response to what are the changes in the music, because sometimes when you are performing live, the music could kind of have like different kind of styles, waves, intensities, and with those elements, it's like kind of made you to kind of match this kind of speed that how the music change. And something that is very interesting and important is how they are kind of empowered to be kind of like the authors of the metaphor in the code. Like they are the ones who choose like how I want to associate distance with the shape or with the color. They are the ones who have this control and decide how to connect like the tangible gestures with the properties of the visuals they want to manipulate. I will go kind of like very brief with this part because it will be kind of interesting to test kind of how it works, the system. And in terms of like the expressivity, like kind of like manipulating objects also open the idea of involve like gestures that are more visible to the audience, more broad, not just like the act of typing. And the fact of modularity adds like more fun and adds more inspiration for the people to integrate like kind of modules that could kind of be more aligned with their artistical intention. And also for those sensors that maybe are like kind of short range, the people who were part of this research, they mentioned that those small sensors can be also attached to very big elements in the space. For example, flexometers that are like gestures that are very small, but if you attach this to a big inflatable or in a big like kind of surface when all the people could step on, it will bring kind of a different level of interaction, like more visible, and also integrate other people into the collaboration of how to feed, like to give more input to the output visuals. And in the sense of collaboration, like the fact of modularity also brings the opportunity to bring the modules to the public, to the audience, to other performance whose skill is like embodied like performance. And also it proposed like to invite the audience to be more like kind of, instead of spectators, more like a part of the whole show, part of the whole performance. And for sure, like it will be interesting to explore kind of like how this collaboration could include other disciplines. It could be dancers, it could be in theater. How how probably could be kind of the range of synergies that integrating those models could bring to the like the scenario of like coding like coding visuals and also music. Um, I will kind of like summarize like the limitations, kind of like, because I was in a controlled environment, there are a lot of elements that maybe I didn't cover because it's very different to work in an environment where you have like control of all the elements that could fail compared with you are in a live context with a live performance that everything could fail. And for sure, it will be interesting to work in this project with a different design approach, more user-centered, where kind of like from the performance who have worked with Hydra for a very long time, they kind of propose the what kind of interface, or they have the chance to kind of personalize their interface from the beginning, from the study. And this was also limited because I just only kind of make this kind of a study with the live coders. So mostly of the gestures were like using controlling the hands, and for sure it will be more interesting if the sensor will be used in some more interesting ways, like using other parts of the body or attaching those elements into other kind of objects that are part of also of the scenario of the performance. Uh, I will go like very fast to kind of like show you how the system works. So this is Hydra. And here I will just add like a line of code, like the element, the script that will insert my. Give me a second. Okay, perfect. So I will add the script, I will run the code, and I will have interface. The first step will be to connect the master microcontroller. So because I kind of memorize all the information, add the fruit, kind of the reference of the board, the baud rate, perfect. And I will connect it. This works very well with Chrome-based browsers. I haven't tested with Safari or other kind of browsers. Mozilla also works very well. And I will try with the pressure sensor. So I turn it on, and now I'm kind of using the pressure that is kind of like currently mapped, and I will create a variable that will collect this information, and I will try to add this information into change of one of the properties of the code. So I will call this variable press new. Here in my syntaxes, I need to specify the channel because the pressure is in the channel 0. I will add it in channel 0. And I will change the scale in the y-axis. And I will go directly to the mapping function just for simplifying. So I will call the variable map, and I want to map the output between 0.5 and, for example, 10. And I execute the code, and I will start pressing the, let me check that everything is okay. That's the interesting part of testing something live, because sometimes yeah, I know the problem. I have a typo here. Now it's good. So I will change the range a bit to make it more visible. So kind of changing have you seen the graph? I'm changing the values of the pressure. And I'm changing kind of how it looks in the y-axis, the shape of the circles. I think I will increase it a little bit more. Okay, now it's more visible. For sure, there are like some properties in the code that works better. Like you can appreciate more visible the changes. I think like I will stop sharing my screen and kind of show a bit like this. Like right now I have this system. And this is kind of this pressure sensor I'm manipulating to control the visuals. And everything is kind of wireless, so I can manipulate the visuals in a different kind of scenario, or also pass this to the audience, or some people who also want to play, not just like the person who is kind of manipulating and typing the code, the script. Yeah, I think like and that's all. I would like, maybe you have questions. It was kind of express. Thank you. I also, for this interface, I took inspiration in P5 Live, because I think this project kind of combines very well, like how extra information is overlaying kind of the visuals when meanwhile you are kind of doing live coding. Perfect. Yeah. Hello, Maite.
So now, finally, we can communicate.
Yes.
So I want to put you with Natasha.
Perfect. Perfect.
Oh, Marte is alive for it.
I was very kind of like identified with the values of the like coding community for kind of like focusing more in the process instead of the result, and kind of like show how everything is happening. And also, I was kind of interested more in the materiality of the code and how kind of with tangibility we kind of like interact with the code in a different way. That, for example, with pure data is more like with the nodes, that it has kind of offered a different kind of connection with the materiality of the code you are writing on. So it was kind of a personal kind of like decision, that approach. This this won't replace like totally, because we are just manipulating the numeric properties. So it will be more open to collaborations between the person who is typing the code and also kind of the other participants of the performance who has control of those numeric properties. So this is my perspective. No, don't close one close more like the one kind of reduce kind of like the live coding kind of, it will make it more richer to kind of opt different ways to interact with the code that is kind of emerging.
So, any more questions? Or okay, pues thank you very much, Victor. I think it's a very interesting project. I like the interface, the balloons interface. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me here, and